I think a lot of surprise in the region around Britain making the decision to leave the EU. If you think of the context, you've got the Gulf states across the GCC really are maturing in terms of their political systems. And when you look from the east to the west, you see more mature systems, and that generally the world's becoming more global and cooperating more, and that's happening in the Middle East as well. So to see such a high-profile nation like Britain exit from what is a really established part of sort of political life and economic life was a surprise. I think everyone's trying to get their heads around what that really means in terms of the impact it will have on the economy and the political relationships between Britain and the GCC. Far-reaching, I think, is the honest answer. I think if you look at the cost of labour that has now increased, so the value of the pound has significantly dropped against the dollar and local currencies in the GCC. So the cost of doing business for British companies has now gone up significantly. And that's if you're operating a Middle East hub in Dubai or Qatar or any one of the other GCC countries, the cost of running that's probably gone up by 10 to 15%. And then if you look at the regional economy, with oil prices now down at less than $50 a barrel from $120 a barrel back in two years or so ago, so the money that's flowing through the economy has reduced and the cost of doing business has increased. So for British companies, they're going to have to run very tight ships out in the region. I guess the flip side of that is that also for British companies with that devalued currency is the opportunity for the country, for Britain, to create trade deals in the GCC has now increased significantly, and there's huge appetite to do that as a result of Brexit. So you've almost got this, sort of balanced challenge where you see the cost of doing business is now much more expensive, but the opportunity to go and grow business in the region has gone up significantly as well. So what's the impact of that going to be on the movement of labour is going to be very interesting to see, because it could result in, I think, huge demand of British nationals wanting to come and work overseas. It could result in Eastern European labour changing their focus of where they want to go. Do they want to head east rather than west? So there's a lot of things in play that we're just going to have to watch and see how it evolves, but very interesting time because that has a direct impact on HR functions and how they're managing their costs, how they're managing their payroll, how they're looking at deploying flexible working solutions and flexible payroll versus a flexible workforce rather than permanent workforce. So there's many different sort of variables in play that HR teams need to think about where they're recruiting from and how they're managing their costs and making the most of the talent that's available to them in the GCC region. So interesting times. I mean, I think for HR professionals that have an interest or operations or customers in Britain or even in Europe, it's about thinking through, well, what's the impact of this going to be for us in terms of the people we employ and how we manage our staff. So where are there opportunities to go and recruit different talent? Where are there opportunities to manage your costs more effectively? Because the region's going to have to be focused on managing payroll costs and getting better value for money, better return on investment in their payroll. I guess the most important thing for me would be have a plan. So even if you can't predict everything that's going to happen, is don't just ignore that Brexit has happened. Have a proactive plan that says, well, this is where we see the opportunities and this is where we see the risks, and here's what we've decided we're going to do about it. But you're going to have to be agile as HR functions to keep monitoring the situation, because it's going to change. Will oil prices recover? No one quite knows, but some analysts will say by the end of the year it will be $70 a barrel. If that's the case, actually the market will stabilise significantly versus the value of the pound. What happens to that will affect business and will affect what HR teams need to do in terms of saving money and attracting talent and retaining talent. So yeah, interesting times for HR.